daughter Holly was about 4 years old, and she would go off to kindergarten, and then she would come back and she would see me writing, and she would clamber up onto my lap and dictate stories to me that I would type out for her. And these would be stories about young girls, very much like Holly, who would normally have evil witches pretending to be their mothers, and the witches would lock the little girls up and the girls would escape, and they'd be filled with escaping and witches. And I thought, this is so cool. She loves stories like this. I'll buy her some. And I went out to the bookshop and started looking for really good, scary books for 4-year-olds and couldn't find anything. And thought, I'll write her one. And the initial plan with Coraline was something that was going to be about 2,000 words long. I thought it'll just be a very short story. I borrowed bits from my childhood. I borrowed the layout of the flat where we lived, except that I gave it the door that opened onto a wall from when I was a little boy. So I thought, she'll go through the door, it will be a flat like theirs, there'll be another mother, and I will tell the story. And I started it and discovered as I started it that it very obviously wasn't a 2,000 word story. And really that was how it all began. It took me 10 years to finish, mostly because I abandoned it halfway through because life caught up with me, and it was this thing that I was doing in my own time, and I ran out of my own time. I started it again when I looked around and realized that even though Holly was probably now too old for it, I had another daughter, and if I didn't finish it soon, she would be too old for it. So I got back to it, and I finished it when Maddie was 6 and read it to her, and she liked it. And I thought, okay, and sent it off to my publisher. When I finished the first draft, I gave it to my film agent, John Levin, at CAA in Los Angeles, and I said, John, there are only 2 people who I would ever want touching this. One would be Tim Burton, the other would be Henry Selick, who directed Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas and James and the Giant Peach. And could you get a copy of it to both of them and see if either of them would be interested in making it into a movie? And I don't know if the copy to Tim Burton ever reached or got read by Tim Burton, but a week later I got a phone call from Henry Selick saying, I've read Coraline, I want to make it a movie. And that would have been in probably about 2001. So it's taken Henry 7 years to make his movie.